Hey, hello guys. So welcome to JuniorDev. We're gonna give a couple of seconds, probably like 1 minute, 2 minute, to people to start joining, and then probably gonna start there lah. So uh, and let's see. All right. Just keep you guys posted lah. So yep. So guys, we're gonna start now. So just gonna go through with the intro first. This is our first meetup for the year. For 2021 after a long COVID. I think it's gonna go for like a few more months. I don't know. But we're gonna move to online until at least until the end of the year. And we see how it goes from there. Uh, as things improve or not, we will see down the road. So for those who don't know, what JuniorDev is, JuniorDev is basically a group based in basically started in Australia, JuniorDev.io, and then went to Singapore and a couple of other countries, and then we started this chapter about 1 or 2 years ago in a couple of meetups and workshops and mentorship programs as well. But the thing is, because of COVID, a lot of things didn't get moving, so we tried to get that all started again. First, starting with this first meetup for the year, with Dolli as the first speaker we're having for today, just to test the water. How is it going? Is it flexible or need to tweak here and there a bit? Because it's online, it's very hard to actually see how it goes. So feel free to give us feedback. Feel free to like get in touch with me and let me know how it goes. If you feel like you need something different, you feel a different topic is better, anything lah, just basically just and we're also trying to like fit in workshop as well, so down the road. So we see how that goes. And if you haven't joined us, it is the first time you're hearing about JuniorDev, go join the meetup page. So go to meetup.com and then you go search Junior Developers Malaysia, and then join us so that you get posted on new event and everything. And if it's on Facebook, JuniorDev MY. So, but we are mostly active on Meetup lah, not on the Facebook group. Last week, and then last week on Thursday we actually tried out with the Clubhouse as well, which actually quite interesting. We got like 60 people joining in to have a simple discussion on JuniorDev, like how the career progress, how they can grow, how we can help JuniorDev in Malaysia itself, specifically in Malaysia, and should they migrate or not, and how is the career progress in the MNC corporate, how the career wise is it good or not, yeah, those kind of things. So just feel free, like if you're JuniorDev, you feel like you're lost or what, you feel free to contact us. We will try to see how we can help you out. If your company or you have a speaker, your senior dev, you would like to help out, or you want to offer a speaker, or you like to give us a workshop or something, feel free as well. We are willing to see how we can make it work. So yep, so let's get it started. So moving on to the next slide, we have today, we're going to start in 5 minutes. We have Dolli, or his real name is Abdullah Abbas, but he goes by Dolli lah. I think a lot of people in Malaysia knows him. He's the head of engineering at Digi-X, so pretty much like a CTO there, and do whatever you want with the tech there. And if you have more questions, you can ask him lah. So he's gonna talk about the Basecamp way of to work lah, like how to survive this work from home. Basecamp, if you know, is like a remote first kind of company, right? So they have your own way of working, and they actually have a guideline they came up with for how to work remotely, how to make it efficient. I think a lot of companies in Malaysia are struggling, especially corporate MSC or like even some startup lah, old school minded, right? So they have like struggling to fit in the online, so the online or the remote working of the environment culture, right? So this, and then when they have the existing one, which corporate or startups or companies that have a remote working culture, but what we see is like it's different from what Basecamp is doing. So you probably want to see how is it different, how Basecamp is probably better, or does it even suit your use case in your company? Is it suit your way, or do you as a junior dev, do you prefer this kind of working environment and stuff like that? And basically to survive the work from home until I think probably like go on for another one at the end of the year, I guess. So let's see how it goes. And if not mistaken, Dolli is already using this method in his company, but slightly tweaked. So we probably want to ask him how he does that as well. And next, intro about JuniorDev. As I said, we started in JuniorDev, basically started in JuniorDev JuniorDev.io. If you go to the website, you can see it. It's started in Australia. We have there are a couple of chapters there. Same objective, like and then move on to other countries, New Zealand, and then Singapore as well. Singapore is quite active. And then I started the chapter in Malaysia. So we have about for 1 or 2 years now. So this is about JuniorDev, anything and everything about JuniorDev to help them grow and stuff. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions or you want to know more about us. Yep, and we also have a very strict code of conduct, and everything is free for us. So the website is here, so you can go there as well. Mainly it's JuniorDev Facebook, and then Meetup is JuniorDev Malaysia lah, housekeeping. And yeah, also you can hang out in a Slack group, engineers.my Slack group. Just come in, drop by, say hi. There's a lot of people, senior people there willing to help as well. So join all the channels and just feel free to drop in and say hi in the engineers.my. I can check it out. Or if you're looking at other events we are having in Malaysia, tech events, you can go to devkami.com/meetups. So yeah, we already like personally curated all the meetups going on. We're probably less now since everything is online and we can't do face to face, but you still can check it out how it can help you and probably interest you. The advantage of being online is you can bring speaker from outside. That's the advantage we're having. So for KL JS, Kuala Lumpur JS, if you're not mistaken, go search on Facebook, Kuala Lumpur JS, one word. We have a speaker for Singapore with the maintainer of Swell JS. So you're going to give a talk tomorrow. So you probably want to check it out there as well. Join in if you're free. Feel free to drop in any questions and everything. So that's related to Swell JS. And yeah, coming back to this code of conduct, we feel free, be nice to everyone. Everyone is welcome. We're not like very gatekeeping or what anything, and everything is we're open to it. And but don't be rude or be nice. That's all we asking. We just be nice and don't be bullying or stuff like that lah. We're all here to learn and to grow and to help each other lah, and help the people to move better, to be in a better place. So yep. And then there's the old slide, the speakers. So go back here. I'm gonna stop sharing, and then I'm gonna pass it to. Now I'm gonna pass it to basically to Dolli lah. Dolli, I'm gonna bring you in. Be ready. So hi Dolli.
Hi,
So
halo, hi bro, apa kabar?
how are you?
Good, good. How's everything with you?
Great. Still alive. Just surviving.
Yeah. Oh, I hope with
Slightly.
the MCO you gain weight.
I think I did. Trying to lose weight as well. Slightly a bit under weather as well. So I think much better now. Hey, nice
Oh,
setup behind your desk though.
oh, that was the YouTube video I used as a background. So it's actually a
Alright.
YouTube video running.
Oh, I see. Okay. I see you're wearing Digi-X t-shirt as well, like to promote. Okay.
Just to
So I'm gonna
match.
So I'm gonna bring your slide in, and then you can carry on. The floor is all yours. Uh, so you can talk for probably. I mean, after you talk, we have probably a quick Q&A. And then from there we just see how it goes lah. And the stage is yours. So all yours. I'm gonna remove myself.
Sure, thank you, Tevan, for the invitation today. So this is more to a sharing session on way of work, right? And what I'm gonna talk about today is a specific way of work, which is called a Basecamp way of work, or they also call it 6 to 6, or they also call it shape path. So there's a lot of ways that you can interpret this way of work. Now, when we talk about way of work, essentially it's how you manage the processes. It can be in the office or it can be outside the office as well. It's how you actually live by specific rules that then become the boundaries of how you do things. So that is essentially what is the way of work here. And I'm going to specifically discuss about surviving working remotely, as most of us now is, I hope you are still working remotely. And I'm gonna give a bit of history when we actually started this Basecamp way of work. So uh, I'm Abdullah Abbas, and I'm from Digi. People know me as Dolli as well. So we actually have tried different ways of work. So you can say, for example, like Scrum, Agile, and then we moved to this Basecamp way of work. And we started this since last year, around March, actually. It's just around the time where COVID become a thing, and we all start to work from home. And there are a lot of reasons behind why we then choose this Basecamp way of work, which I'm gonna go through in the slides later on. So as you see, there are challenges working from home, right? You don't see your team anymore as frequent as you wanted to, and technically a lot of interaction change, right? So if you see on this slide some of the points that we actually take last year. So this is what we defined since last year, and the challenge that we must overcome now in order to cope in this new world, in the way we communicate with each other. We have to understand that we may be working from home for a longer period and possibly more often, that we will have to balance our time between our families and work more religiously. And I believe a lot of you actually realize this, that you start working more compared to when you actually working from the office. So you actually spend a lot more time in at your house. working in front of your computer. And that is one of the things that my wife have been always reminded me. Actually, just now she tell me, why you don't spend time talking with me anymore. I mean, that is an example, because we are just stick to one place, and that is our laptop or our computer, and we just want to actually do everything, finish all our work every day. So we have to understand that we need to still be able to balance our time between our families and work, and I think what I'm going to share to you is how we actually manage to do that. We also need to understand that we will have to be fast or near real time in addressing customer concerns, that we need to be more independent at working remotely, and we have to make it as systematic as possible so we don't out of track from what we are doing. um, we also need to find ways to reduce our distractions, right? At home you got kids, or you got wife yelling at you, for example. That is distractions. And in a way, go back to the second point we put here, that we need to balance our families and working time. We also need to find a way to plan by the days and weeks instead of months in order to adapt faster. As you see during this COVID, a lot of technology company becoming bigger than before. A lot of streaming companies becoming much more famous, prominent, and every day we use them. And the behavior will change over the time, as and how consumer react also becoming very much different, right? So these are some of the challenges that we must overcome now. Now, I'm pretty sure you are familiar with all of these tools, right? Whether it's a Slack, whether it's a Jira or Trello, Evernote, Excel, Asana, your emails. So these were some of the tools that we actually used before as well. We are still in Slack. We used Jira before. At some points we used Trello. uh, we actually moved from Asana to this Basecamp, and then of course you use emails and probably Excel a lot as well, right? So we now move from all of these tools to actually use Basecamp, and I wouldn't go actually too much on demoing how is Basecamp look like or how do we use it. But tonight, I'm just gonna talk a bit about the concept that they define as shape up, means a way of work that they define, and that is something that we follow at the moment. So as we work from home, like what I said, a lot of things become meetings, online meetings. So this is what I felt before. So yeah, on an average day, I'd say I do a solid 15 minutes of actual work. The rest of the time is going to meetings or sitting through PowerPoints. And I believe a lot of you will be agreeing with me as well. I mean, more of the interaction becoming online. A lot of things now move to PowerPoints and very less face-to-face verbal conversation. But that is one thing. And another thing is with the use of the communication tools like Slack, for example, or Microsoft Teams, you have like a lots of group chat. I think I remember back then last year we have a lot of channels in our Slack in Digi-X. And this is actually how I summarize on group chat. So group chat is like being in all day meeting with a random participants and no agenda. You might agree or disagree with me, but there's some truth in this. We sometimes ended up just keep typing and typing in Slack, for example, or in Microsoft Teams, and we forgot to realize that we haven't actually do anything productive. So that's what I'm trying to say here. So this is what I felt, and now we try to move more things into how to say an offline mode. All right. So let me go to the next slide. This is how we actually define our rules to communicate. So don't worry, not to remember. It's just that I feel all of the rules here for you to actually see. I bolded some of the things there, and I will go quickly and in some of them. The first one is you cannot not communicate, right? When you are not talking to your team, that is actually a communication happening already. When you say something, that is communication, and when you don't say something, that is also communicating. So you cannot not communicate, right? The second things here that real time, sometimes asynchronous, most of the time. So we really put a lot of, not to say rules, but reminders to the team that you only communicate in real time. Not, it shouldn't be as frequent as how we used to be. Like before this, I turn on my computer and I will just Slack everyone in the team. And sometimes we come back one more step back, right? And we think that maybe sometimes we only need to communicate in real time where, for example, it's about real issues. And how we should think is about how we can be communicating asynchronously most of the time. And I'll go through some of these later on. Poor communication creates more work. I totally agree with this. And if you see this framework of how we define our rules to communicate, it's all about putting things in a way that you put more thoughts before you actually communicate things. Because like what written here, poor communicates create more work. When you verbally say something and your team does not understand that, you actually create confusion. And when you create confusion, it create an assumption from different people. And when you create an assumption on doing things, then you actually guess what next to be done, right? So poor communication creates more work. The fourth thing here is that communication shouldn't require schedule synchronization. Imagine you want to meet 5 different people. Your first problem is actually to find the suitable time that these 5 people actually free. Like if you use Google Calendars, for example, then you can see everyone timeline, and that is a problem already. That you need to actually schedule your communication with people, right? And something I agree here is that 5 people in a meeting of an hour is not an hour meeting. It's actually a 5-hour meetings. So that is one thing that I agree here. And the last one is right at the right time. As we are working remotely, and I told you before that we actually spend more times in front of our computer, we sometimes don't care so much about people. Sometimes we don't think that if I write something in the middle of the night, my team, who is probably resting, will actually get up and read the message. And when they get up and read the message, they actually think to actually reply, right? And we are creating an inconvenience for people then. So that's why this point here on these rules to communicate is actually right at the right time. And I'm totally agreeing with this. We have to think how what is other people doing at a point of the time, and how they might feel if you write at a certain point of time. And that is technically an unwritten rules, right? When you actually made an announcement early in the morning, or when you actually do your stand up early in the morning, that actually send a different message when you do your stand up at the, let's say, at the end of the day, or you do your sync up at the end of the day. It's totally make all the difference. So that's why on this point it's about right at the right time. I also totally agree. Sometimes I don't actually follow it, my bad. But I feel like this is something that you should understand as well. Now I'm going directly to the 6 to 6 word, or what we call the shape up, right? So essentially, this is how it looks like. This is our way of work, and this is part of the way of work, if I can say that better. So we call it, some people in DG call it 6 to 6. In Digi-X we call it 6 week cycle, but the official title that the Basecamp team actually call it is shape up. And I saw some people in the comment actually write, yes, they have an online book that you can read about shape up. There's a lot of things there that you can actually learn, and it's really nice. And when I say way of work, how we do this doesn't, you don't have to follow it, right? Every companies, every setup have a different way to actually run their team. So this is just how we do it now, as we actually move from working synchronously in the office with everyone, and move to work at home. I will explain this in a bit, but if I go back first to the rules of communication, I will show you a bit on how Basecamp is being structured, so you also have an idea what is these tools about. And I'm not promoting it. Again, I'm not a Basecamp ambassador or anything related to Basecamp. It's just that I like to use it because everything is written, right? So this is an example of how it looks like. It's very simple, so you can sign up actually for free just to try it out. The pricing is not so bad. Oops, I need to refrain myself from promoting. But you see, you have technically few items here. There are themes and projects, and they have messages, they have activities, and your stuff. Now, the biggest changes that we actually did in Digi-X is moving from Jira to this. And when I say to this, means every single stories, the agile thingy, we move it all to this platform, and only this platform. And there are confusion. Some people don't like it, but I just gonna show you a bit how it looks like. So if I go to themes, right? They always come with a very standard or structured template. So you have your message board, you have your message board. Sorry, you have your to-do list, the documents and files, a campfire, which is a place for you to chat, the schedule, and an automatic check-ins. I will talk from the automatic check-ins first. So we now don't really have a stand-up anymore. And we move everything to these automatic check-ins, right? So these automatic check-ins technically ask a question to your team or everybody that you tag here at a specific point of time. So for example, this one is asking 10 people every Friday at 9 a.m. And this is how we now do our stand up in a way. So we put a question at the beginning of the week asking what are you going to focus on this week, And then at the end of the day, we also have another checkpoint to ask them, what have you achieved today? Now, going back to how a stand-up usually run, it's actually similar in a way that how we reflect the day, what are the challenges that we actually face. But we move it all here because we don't want to synchronize your time. Yes, we do remind you at a specific point of time in the day, but you can actually take your time to just update your team, how you are doing, what the focus that you are doing this week, or how you even did your day to day. So this is on automatic check-ins. The message board is more to how we use it as announcement, or even they have this concept called a heartbeat, where you actually share the happiness after a project being done or a project have been a succeed. So people are start writing, and then people can start use the emoji, and the interaction is via commands. People you can put images or whatsoever, and people can always give you a praise, right? And why I personally like this is because again it moved the communication away from being synchronous to asynchronous, and it's better than email because then I see the context that we are talking about, and every comments just go to the bottom, while in the email sometimes you keep seeing the same thing over and over as a thread, for example. So this is Teams. You can invite people inside, and the biggest changes is actually on this to-do list, right? On the to-do list, imagine moving the concept of story, points, and everything to a concept of a simple to-do list. So that's the biggest change, and that is the biggest, how to say, complaint that I received as the team leader, right? Because the team that used to be very specific inside Jira now asking question like, how do I operate with these? How do I actually put the to do to be deployed, for example? How do I organize this? And there's a lot of way you can actually do that, and I won't go into the details, but as a sample, we can actually just replace this Christine task to be to do, and one things have been moved from to do, you can actually move it to the next stage, to the next to do list, right? So that's how we do it. So the concept of moving things is still there. It's just become very much simpler. So this is on the to do list. And then of course you can have your document and files. You can link it from Google Drive, Dropbox, or OneDrive. So everything is here. And the campfire, we don't really use campfire, so you can activate or deactivate some of these because this become another chat. But it could be good if your chat is focusing on specific projects only. That's why at this home, right, you see that there are teams and projects. So the projects have the same similar structure, but you can just pull a very specific people that working on a specific project into this kind of template. And yeah, so that's a bit about Basecamp. So as you see, a lot of things is being written, and I always like to put it this way: if you could put your train of thoughts into a proper writing, mean you actually understand the objective that you want to achieve. And when you understand the object that you want to achieve, means it's easier for you to convey to other people in your team. Because if not, if you talk verbally, for example, like what I'm doing now, you probably don't understand some of the things I said or the things I meant. But if I put it into writing, it give me time to actually craft. It's like, you are thinking of emailing your boss where you take your time. Should I actually start the first sentence sentence as hi boss or hello, or it's just something like that. You keep you put time to actually think on what you want to write, and that's how I like it, and this is how our team in Digi-X is actually moving. It's always make me a little bit more happy when I see check-in at the end of the days, where people sometimes they are tired but they put emojis there. It's just good to write. And my personal opinion of writing things, for example, now my one-on-one with my team, everything's in Basecamp. So I have put essentially a basic question, because you can create templates of questions that you can ask to your team. So I create 5 items of question that they should ask, or at least we should discuss whenever uh, we have what to say we have a one-on-one. And also it's becoming a living document on how your team actually progress. uh, if you have an one-on-one session for your team, I always take the one-on-one session with my team very, very seriously, because that's is one of the time in a week or in a month or bi-weekly that I spend with them talking something that matters to them, and I document it in this base camp. It showed me how they progress, because I can also have to-do lists, and it's just good to see. And if your company is corporate, where by the end of the year you actually need to do this end year assessment, it's very easy then to just copy things inside and submit it, because then you have a living document of how your team uh, operate and grow under your care. So it goes back to the rules to communicate. But let me now focus a bit on this 6 to 6 week. I don't have many slides. It's just a few slides after this, but it's just for you to understand about how everything works. So if you see the part at the bottom here, this is the part where your engineers works. So they have the build cycle, they have the cool down, and then moving out to another build cycle. So this will be the out of cycle, right? So it goes back here. While let's say your product manager, your product owner, your scrum master is doing the shape together with your stakeholder, and then they go to the betting session for 2 weeks while a cooldown is happening, and they go back to the shaping, right? Sorry, you go to the shape, bid, and build. So this is how the flow: shape, bet, and build, right? So what are the boxes mean? So shaping is where we actually define the problem and the solution with the right amount of detail. Uh, it need to happen at the appropriate level of abstraction. So concrete enough, not so big, and also not so prescriptive that you actually don't allow your team to give an ideas or details about that. It's a very delicate balancing act. And once you're done shaping, so this usually you involve your manager or your boss or your CEO, right? So they will also read. When I say read, it's like really written documents. The second thing is betting. So you have all the ideas coming up, and then you actually bet which one that will go to the build cycle. So let's say you have 20 projects that you want to run, then out of 20, after looking how much time you have and which one that you want to focus on, then you can actually only focus on 5 items. Then that is what you then push to the building stage. And then the last one is self-explanatory, which is the building, where the team delivers with all the necessary skill present in the team. So if you think about this, it doesn't go too much different with how agile run. But one key difference here is that there is no backlog. So if you're familiar with agile, whatever items that you have, right, there is a backlog. Things that you haven't pushed to the side to push to the sprint, you put in the backlog. But in the concept of Basecamp, you don't actually have a backlog. Whatever items that wasn't selected for for building, you throw it away. And the reasoning of that is because things change. You cannot put something on your storage. Let's say you put roti lah, a bread. Then after 1 month, you take the bread out, and then you put it in your storage. The concept is that you cannot use the bread anymore because you can't eat it anymore. You just need to throw it away and you put a new item. It might be similar to what actually you put in the storage before, or similar to your backlog, but in terms of the concept, it should be refreshed. So whatever items that are going to the shaping cycle is actually a fresh item, right? So this is what are the boxes mean. And then if I go a bit more details, like what I told you just now is about shaping, betting, and then building that. It's just that there is scoping in the middle, and then you show the progress. In Digi-X, we name all our cycle as hills name. Hills are like Bukit Nanas, or any the Bukit lah. Bukit Ledang. Bukit Ledang is our next cycle in Digi. And there's reason why we name it hill as well. So it's not too high for you to climb. And once you are on top, you can actually see the downhill part of the hill, right? So it's kind of like just a way we name our cycle. So it gives you a little bit more hope that the cycle will end and you can see what you build being delivered by end of the cycle. So they have a few things here on the shaping. They put not to say rules, but a guidance of how you actually shape things. So you set the appetite on what you want to try to achieve, and you narrow the problem. You outline the solution. You remove things that are necessary needed for that story, for example, and then you start writing pitch. And then all that pitch will be in one place, and then the team will actually start to comment. Again, it goes to the asynchronous method of communication, that if you are not clear on the pitch, then you write a comment so people can clarify and modify the pitch. Then we go to the betting session, where then we actually scale it on the number of resources we have, the number of people in the team, and how much work that we can done within a 6 week. So that is on the betting, where we choose the pitch, we commit the resources, then we scope it, and then we start building. Right? There's a few items here that I won't go into the details, but this just gives you an overview of how a 6 to 6 cycle works. Right? So I saw a comment in the chat in the YouTube before that, yeah, you have a cooldown here. So we always use cooldown as our time to actually catch up. Bug fixes lah, we do some of our demo session, which we call show and tell every cooldown. So we know that after 6 weeks, you can be proud of what you have done and show it to everyone. It's like our demo session lah, right? You can use it to fix bugs and also to show what you have built and done to the rest of the team. We do a sharing session as well. For example, lunch and learn, we try to pick up cooldown period to do it, so that everyone is a bit more relaxed and they know that the other 6 weeks is coming. Now, some of the question will be, isn't it 6 weeks too long to actually deliver things? Yeah, so you are right. It's actually depend. So inside the 6 week cycles, we divide it into 2 batches, right? So we have a big batch, which is usually, although I write here that takes 6 weeks, we usually practice this in Digi-X or Digi as a 4-week cycle, 4 to 6 week cycle. So, and the assumption that it will be complete in between 4 to 6 weeks. When we say complete, doesn't mean you produce, let's say, a website in 6 weeks. Probably some of the R&D needs more time, but at least there is always an outcome within that 4 to 6 weeks that you can show. And then we have a small batch, so it's usually 2 weeks to complete. So if you're familiar with agile, with a sprint, so nothing much different. So you still can have your 2 weeks to complete and deliver something. So we divide our resources and then put it into this 4 or 2 week cycle. It's also give our team flexibility in doing different project or different part of the project. So you probably, an example is, you can probably do integration of auto language translation for 2 weeks, and then move to, let's say, doing some improvement into the login parts. So it gives flexibility for the team also to move around and learn another things. All right. So, like what I say, at the end we go to the cooldown where it's made out of to-do list only, a chance to clean up your own to-dos, be prepared to the cycle show and tell session, and take the time to actually read and use cycle pages. That is actually all I have for this session, and I hope it's not too much for you to digest. I think if you want to take more understanding on this shape up, you can always just read it online. Go to basecamp.com and then shape up. So all of the things that I have explained here is actually there, and there is always a lot of things that you can learn by reading the way they work, because they are the company that fully remote. They have grown to 3 million users or companies, if I'm not mistaken, that using them. And again, you might don't really like the platform, but what I appreciate is the thoughts that they've been putting into how they actually work together as a team. Again, it's about asynchronous communication. You actually put more thoughts in writing. Again, when I say more thoughts in writing, that doesn't mean you are creating documentation. No, it's actually put an understanding on the problem that you want to get rid of and achieve the goal that you guys have defined. So that's about it. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll get back to you, Devin.
Yep, I'm here, right here. So I think that's a really good talk actually. I think we learn a lot. Like I'm not sure whether a lot of people are aware of this. Like, usually people say agile and or Scrum, but then like we have this shape up which is really helpful in a way, like simplify the things. And Basecamp itself is known for like fully remote company where it helps to and helps the developers and helps the client as well at the same time. They put a lot of thoughts and effort into it. Yep, good one, Dolli. So we have a couple of questions. So we have about 10 minutes. So we still
Sure.
let me pick some question for you.
Okay.
Let me give me a sec. Okay. All right. Which one? I'm not sure this is the question, but it says Jeffrey is saying that how expected to Malaysian company to implement. First when Dolly told me, I was quite surprised as well. So Dolly, want to add something? Like, do you know any other companies are using this shape up method?
No, I don't think so. I've never heard other company that using this. So we like what I say, we actually started with Digi-X last year, and now we are implementing it in the marketing part of Digi. So we have this new cycle of work lah. Now the implementation is a bit more different with how we implement it in DG and how we implement it in Digi-X as well. Because an example I give you is in DG they have multiple different departments, right, that have their own way of work. For example, we have team that just focusing on, let's say, a configuration base, and then there are teams that are focusing on a development base,
Mm.
where the time they need to actually submit the pitches can be different. Some of them are very close to the building time, sorry, to the betting time, due to the urgency of how we need to push a product plan to the consumer. But usually, like in terms of roadmap building, then you can take a little bit more early to actually write all the pitches, and share it to your manager or to the project team to actually consider it as part of the betting. But back to here, yeah, I actually don't really hear people use this. Everyone
Yep.
is either on agile or just a straight waterfall method, right?
Or lift and ship of a waterfall method as well.
Yeah. Again, when we talk about way of work, right? It's not something that can be true or right for everyone. Like what we said, or like what I said before. We actually move from practicing Scrum to this. And one of the thoughts that we have, and this will make all the agile lovers hate me, is that I just don't believe in the point system. And you can give me an argument of the point system lah, that oh, it's not actually a point, it's just a how to say,
Effort.
uh effort estimation. No, I don't believe in that. What I believe, and at least what I practice at the moment, and that's how we practice it with this way of work, is at the end of the 6 week I can have an overview of things that I will deliver to the our customer. For example, we don't need to actually talk about, okay, 7 out of my 8 things I've done, and we don't talk about points or anything like that. And again, I might be wrong, you might be right, but if we talk about way of work, it's again about how you suit your team to follow that way of work, right?
Mm. So I have a follow-up question on that, right? Like, why do
Sure.
you do? Why do you don't believe in the point system? Do you think the point system is like redundant, or it's not effective, or is it like useless altogether?
I won't say useless, and I think point system, for example, will become effective over the time. It trains you to be conscious on how on working on complex items, so you can actually, as you grow, as you actually practice it over and over lots of sprint, you become very much easy to actually understand. Okay, this one I just need, let's say 4 days to do it, or this one is
Yep.
3 days. Now, what we practice in this Basecamp way of work is that I don't care whether you are working today or whether you are, go and watch a movie. What I wanted to know is that by end of this small batch, for example, things are delivered, right? So that is the concept. It's not so much that, I mean, yes, I said I don't believe the point system, but the things that I want to say is that I don't need to pressure you to estimate things. I just want you to be confident that within this cycle you can actually finish your stuff. So yeah.
Mm. I think this actually allows the developers as well, or the people to actually plan their own way of how to get this job done without being interfered or peer
Correct.
pressure,
And
because you
and
don't know
and that
how it's gonna be.
even just to add a bit on that, the one that
Yeah.
actually write the story in this Basecamp way of work is actually the developer. So
Mm.
your story won't be crafted by, let's say, your your business analyst lah, or your scrum master lah, or whoever that usually write the stories, because the interpretation of who writing the story sometimes can be different in the sprint, right?
Yep.
But the one that right here is really the developers, and the reason why we do that is because it goes back to the concept of the pitches. If you understand the pitch that being written, you should be able to actually uh, estimate what kind of works that need to be done by you. So imagine, Devin, if I give you a story about create a SSO integration with Facebook, for example. Then as a developer, I don't need to write you a story as a developer, sorry, as a user. I would need to log in to Facebook via this site, right? But instead, you can just quickly put a very simple to do.
Mm.
Uh, so yes, for people that using Sprint now, they will hate me and saying that yes,
I mean,
we don't need Scrum Masters.
there's no such thing as like one tip fits all, right? It's like what's the best way to work in that
Correct,
function and that company, right? So that's always the idea. I
correct,
mean, if
correct.
you go to enterprise or like a big corporate company, they probably don't even think about it. They straight out say this doesn't go not gonna work with this kind of company, right? So
Yeah,
yeah. So I
a
have
lot of
another follow up.
sure, sure.
So you go finish up. What do you think? Like enterprise law.
Sorry, can you repeat?
What were you saying again? Like what? Law enterprise.
Because I mean, like what you say, a lot of enterprise will straightly give you the requirement documents. Okay, this is what you need to build, and this is all the things. So yes, like
Mm.
it doesn't fit everyone lah. This concept.
Yep, agree. So we have Fidaus Halim. He's asking a question like, is it used Digi-X wide or just a specific project or team in Digi-X?
In Digi-X we use it for everyone. So we divide it by projects, right? So
Mm. By
even
tribes, huh?
some it can be like that. Yeah, so we divide it by teams and projects. So teams have their own Basecamp. So like that.
Mm. Okay, understand. So let's go to another one. So Jeffrey have a statement that he making like so I have a question on this basically statement as well, right? The 2 week break is also a brilliant concept because it's a chance for people to fix bugs and explore more stuff. I found in my experience that a lot of companies don't give employee time or so do you want to add anything on that? Like, I do think that this 2 weeks break in a way allows the developers to actually like go back to the drawing board or like the way it's think, right? Does this work? Is it a good way or is it a better way to do it? How if you already finish it the task, right? Can he make it better or is it a bug on that that should fix it? So is it that's the concept for this 2 week break?
Yeah, correct. Now they have one part of explanation about bugs, because the question of bugs is, so do you mean that within that big batch, for example, or a small batch, you don't actually fix bug, right? There is a question of that.
You know,
Do you do that? That's why you put actually cooldown at the end of the shift, so that is the only time we can actually prioritize and fix bug. I think when we talk about the concept of bugs, right, is really about perception of how those technical what people say are features will hinder your production, uh, your application, right? Your application in production. Some bug we can actually leave it for later. Some bugs is actually deemed critical because your application won't work without fixing that. That for me, I don't actually say that it's a bug. It's really part of the things that you have to get done during your batch. But the concept of putting in cooldown is really to work on your, how to say, technical debt, right?
yep.
Your technical debt, the really some small bugs like fixing a hamburger menu error when you keep clicking it, for example. That is what we put in the cooldown.
So this is called betting, right? And
Yeah.
this betting can happen in any stage of the cycle. Am I correct?
Yes. Sorry, no. It's always happen before the build, right?
Okay.
So it's actually happened before the actual build, because this betting will choose out of all the thousand ideas that your companies have, and thinking of the number of resources you have, how many you can actually deliver. So that is what get into the betting session.
I
Is
see.
negotiation time of prioritizing items.
This like me time for developers and designer, right? So no one can
Yeah.
disturb them at this moment. So to clear out all the
Correct.
technical debt. Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, I think
So you,
that's a pretty good
I mean,
concept.
not to sound so extreme, but we usually tell our team that, okay, you want to take leave, go to cool down. I mean, try to take it during the cool down. Of course, that is not an enforced rule, but it's easier also for everyone that we're
Is
expecting people to take their time.
but is the developer in this cooldown period been assigned to other project?
Nope,
Oh no. Okay.
it's
Because
really
really like
just the to-do list lah.
yeah, usually some developers be working on a couple multiple projects at the same time. So that's why I'm asking that question.
Nah, again, it goes back to the that we need to practice this a bit more religiously, in the
Yep.
way that,
Correct.
because once you sway away from your own rules, then obviously havoc lah.
Yeah. Currently we have a lot of agile, like a lot of dark agile as well out there. So
Betul.
yeah. Okay. Go back to the another slide, right? I think we have one more question, but before that, right? Just wanna
Sure.
well, I have one more. Yeah, this one. So this the shaping part, right? Where you actually set the requirement, everything, outline your solution, everything. So how efficient is this to when you go to the betting, which is the next one, the bet side phase to convince the stakeholders and the management side? Is it easier for them to be convinced with this shape?
It is now, again. It needs a commitment from everyone to understand this concept of pitch. You cannot convince people on whether they can be how to say a millionaire without actually showing the path to become a millionaire, or at least
Hmm.
you show the experience that you have. Now this pitch contains the experience on the expectation of things that need to be prioritized,
Okay.
um and how to say, and we expect the team to actually read it first and not coming to the betting session without reading it, because you will just see a titles of things,
Yeah, and
and
pretend to know everything.
correct, you cannot. So the
Yeah.
best way is people start commenting things, and that is the best time you should how to say align.
Mm. So on that question, right? So is it the shaping the design is or prototype is already there, or it's just purely just brainstorm and ideas there, and then you go and pitch it, or is it like already have a design and a UI UX done prototype you have ready?
I think that is the arrangement on how you want it to be within the team. At least in Digi-X, how we practice it is that the designer actually started in a different times, right? So let's say this one is building, then the designers actually start
Shaping
earlier.
it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's earlier, right?
Okay.
So
So
that is how
design
we
and
do.
UI prototype is not considered as a build stage. If it's up to the
Mm,
team, lah, basically. Understood.
correct.
Understood.
And to say, let me show you probably something that we have done, so it's not very confidential
Yep.
to show.
Sure. Sure.
uh
Meanwhile, we're searching for it. We have one more question, lah. Like, so what happens to the Scrum Master? They get reabsorbed into the team. So we don't have a Scrum Master here, right?
yeah, we don't have, so we don't have the concept of the scrum master.
Hmm.
It's just the product lead, and then the rest of the development team. So
Product lead.
uh,
Okay.
what we do with the scrum master, then they help to actually write the pitch. And when I say help write to pitch, not that is the only thing they do, but they are the one that shaping it, right?
Yep.
So that
Basically,
is
the product
how.
owner himself, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How big is the team usually? Like, or is there a limit to the team? Like, the team size?
Per project, we usually put a maximum of 2 people per project actually. So that's
Oh,
how
it's quite
we
small.
can. It's very small per project within the cycle, because within the cycle you can
Okay.
have many projects run in parallel.
I see. So you
Ah,
have multiple cycle in one project.
multiple project in one cycle, bro.
Multiple
Be-
project in one cycle.
Because your cycle is this 6 week,
Yep.
so inside you can have a multiple project running.
So but then it's come to one big huge project lah.
It Yes and no. It doesn't have to.
Okay.
It doesn't have to.
Okay.
So you could just focusing on a very small items as your product become mature,
Mm-hmm.
and then another people actually working on different project as well. So it doesn't have to be like one lump sum of big deployment, no, because in the end your deployment can still happen every 2 weeks. It doesn't have to be at the end of the 6 week.
Understand.
Hmm.
Okay, got it. So you found the confidential part of your.
Not yet, not yet. I don't know which one I can share lah. Maybe this part of saving things, save as
Yeah.
a draft,
Okay.
because it's very simple. So if you see this one I'm sharing here, right? My colleague Sabrina was writing. So if you go back to the slides that I have on this one, so you will see that how it's being the problem, how much time do you need, what needs to be
Yeah.
done,
It's like a
rabbit
working
holes and
paper
all
lah.
those. Exactly, yeah. And
Working
potential
paper.
increment. So it's very simple. You can
Mm.
put your drawings and everything there. But again, it's enough for the stakeholder to understand what you are trying to do and what are the outcomes. Also enough for the developers to understand what they need to do.
Understood. Understood.
I think in the comment, like, yeah, in one cycle, usually 1, 2 devs work closely with
Yeah.
one designer. Yes, correct. So that is correct.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. What I mean.
Yeah, and then they have
And
managers. They oversee that
the
that
progress.
oversee their progress. So yeah, we do have a very quick sync up, like less than 5 minutes, and
The
and
stand ups
and
are.
it's not stand up. It's just a very short call where the product lead just brief us like, okay, this is on how to say, uh, uh, tak delay, right? Like this is
Everything's on time. Nothing to no
on
blockers.
time, no blockers.
Yeah.
It's just a very simple updates, and that also we just write it down. Very simple pause, just saying that okay, this is on track. Sorry, that's the word I'm looking.
Mm.
On track, or there is delay, and if there is delay, what are they? And then people can start commenting again on what is actually happening.
Okay.
So
If
yeah,
they're block,
Jeffrey ini seems like very interested in this. I think you could
you
always
can hire
try it.
him. Yeah. I think that's pretty good lah. So yeah, we're over time a bit, 8 minutes lah. So I think we can
Yeah, I'm so
stop here.
sorry.
No worries. Actually, the question I had my own question as well. So it's quite interesting to. So
Yeah.
it's a good,
And
interesting sharing, knowledge sharing. So let me share this comment as well. Only 3 people are involved in shaping DH, which is David, Jason Pratt, and Ryan Singer. So these are the people from Basecamp. So wow.
correct.
So
So not so
in this
many
case,
people involved. Yeah. Even in Digi-X, we only have yes, around 3 people that actually doing the shaping.
are you one of them?
Oh no no no.
Okay. I think we pretty much we came to the end lah. Like so, let me just remove this and just stay in the call. I will get back to you in a while. So guys, we pretty much came to the end. Thanks to Dolly for actually I was bugging him to join and give this talk. So thanks so much for giving us this talk. I think it's very useful for a lot of people. Like I'm not sure where a lot of people are in Malaysia, especially like aware of the SharePart method and how it can be helpful for you, especially if you're under like a dev team, like that kind of thing, the team. So you probably want to try it out yourself. And then if you have any question, probably can reach out to Dolli as well. I'm pretty sure he's very helpful to help you guys. So thank you, and let me know if you have any feedback. If you want to like see anything else in for JuniorDev, or you have anything to offer. If you want to be a speaker or something, just reach out. Feel free to reach out to me, and I will get to you lah. Right. Thank you so much for spending the night with us tonight, guys. So good night.